Are you still buying prepackaged bone broth because you think making it at home is too difficult? Well, I'm going to show you how it's done in 5 easy steps. I'm Trace Barnett and welcome to Garden Party. Today I'm going to show you how to make a homemade bone broth. Bone broths are the foundation of so many wonderful recipes in the kitchen. I love to make homemade bone broths because one, it saves me a ton of money in the store. It cuts down on the sodium, it's also going to cut down on preservatives, and you're really going to elevate the quality of your dishes because your bone broth is such of good quality. It also really makes use of any waste that you might have in the kitchen. So for instance, when you're roasting a chicken, you're going to have some vegetable scraps if you make a side. Throw it all in the pot and it's all going to taste delicious. So first things first, we are going to start with our chicken. So I made this chicken, I roasted it a couple days ago. I have few other things in there. Have some carrots that were roasted with that, some celery, some potato, and I'm gonna throw all of that directly into our pot too because it's just loaded with delicious flavor. And of course, if you don't have a ton of bones on hand, you can always go to your local butcher or your supermarket and they'll be glad to give you bones. I'm gonna add that directly into our pot there. So now that we have our chicken and our leftover vegetables in the pot, let's add in some other really flavorful veg that I have on hand. First, I love celery, and all I've done is I'm not peeling any of this, I'm not pulling the strings. I'm just gonna loosely chop these end to end and throw them directly into the pot. I'm leaving the ends on my carrots too. So we've got 3 ribs of celery, just loosely chopped up, and 2 carrots for our bone broth, and 1 onion, 1 large onion. I'm using like a tiny onion today, so let me just go ahead and add 2. And for the onions, I'm just gonna remove the ends, cut them in half, and I'm going to throw them directly in our broth just like that. Skins on and everything. You would be amazed at how much flavor is in the skins of onions, the greens of celery, and we really want to make use of all of those flavors in our broth today. Let's add them to the pot. So to our pot here, I'm going to add a teaspoon of whole peppercorns, give or take a couple that just ran off. I'm also going to add in a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I really love the apple cider vinegar in our bone broth because it really brings the minerals out. It really brings that good, deep bone flavor out into our broth. I'm going to add in a bay leaf. And I'm also just going to take 8 garlic cloves, and I'm just going to smash those and throw those into the pot. Just give those garlic cloves a good smash. And you're probably wondering, what about salt? So I wait and salt and really season my broth later on down the road. If you're using a chicken that's already been cooked, or if you decide to roast them or roast your vegetables beforehand, you really don't want it to come out overly salty. Of course, we can tweak it just a little bit, but save the salt for the end. Now, this is one of my favorite parts. So this is just going to be a really good aromatic bundle for us here. So I've got a little bit of rosemary, I've got some thyme, I've got some parsley, and of course you can see the greens from our celery too. I love that flavor that they have, and I'm just using a little bit of kitchen twine here, and I'm going to give that a good tie so it just kind of floats around and we're not having to chase it down later. And of course, if you don't have fresh herbs on hand or don't want to spend the money, you can just simply season it later on when you salt your stock with just some dried options. Directly into the pot, and now let's add our water. So we are going to add 12 cups of water. Of course, you can adjust this depending on how much stock you really want. Get this big one over here. Should have brought a bicep for that one. Give it a good stir here and just make sure all of your bones all of the vegetables, everything is really submerged down in there and everything is covered. Now, I will say that as you cook this, I would keep a little bit of extra water on hand just to add to it. You always want to have more liquid versus less because you don't want this to burn or stick. And we're gonna cook this for quite some time. I'm gonna throw a lid on it and stick it onto the stove, bring it up on medium-high heat, and then I'm gonna reduce it to simmer. That's when the magic happens. You want to simmer your broth for a minimum of 4 hours, but the longer the better. So as your broth simmers away, use a spoon and just skim off any foam or impurities that come to the surface. So most people think making your own broth at home is very daunting. You've got to stand over this pot and look at it forever and stir. And that's simply not the case. Most of the things are already cooked. And if they're not, it's just simple chopping, no peeling. There's hardly any kitchen work involved. It's just putting everything in a pot and boiling it down to get all of that good flavor. Another good thing, undaunting about making broth at home is that it stores so amazingly well. You don't have to can it. Throw it in your refrigerator for 5 weeks in a jar, any kind of plastic container, and it also freezes really well too. So it's something that, say you have a holiday, use your turkey, make up a ton of broth, throw it in your freezer, and you have it for holidays and dinners to come. So the long 12-hour wait is over and our bone broth is just off the stove. So you'll know that your broth is done just simply by the color. You can look at that and see how much darker it's gotten just over the course of those few hours. That means it's going to be full of flavor. It's going to be perfect for everything from pastas to risottos to soups or just plain by itself. Again, let it cool, and I'm going to take a ladle here. I don't really trust myself on TV to pour this whole pot through this sieve. So I'm just going to start ladling through a fine sieve. Once I get a lot of this out, I'm going to go rogue for it and just pour it right through. Look at all that goodness coming out of the pot. Look at that big old pot of gold, bowl of gold rather. Take my spoon here. I'm just going to force all of that goodness out. Now, if you wanted this much more of a clear broth consistency, you can totally do this quite a few times, and it's going to make beautiful, perfectly clear broth for you. I'm going to give it a try before I bottle it up. Perfectly seasoned. I'm going to add just a touch of salt though. This is really when you want to add your salt. Any kind of flavorings is here, just as it's slightly warm. Give that a good stir. So now comes the fun part of keeping our broth on hand till we need it. And there's a couple different methods that I like to do this. First things first, a quart jar. Perfect mode to save your broth in. I really like to use these flip-top bottles too that I just save when beverages come in them. They're a great option. They don't quite take as much room up in the refrigerator. So using a ladle and some skill, let's hope I have it today. Cover your surface here, and then we're just going to ladle our broth into our bottles and jars. How pretty is that color? All right, let's put the lid on our last little jar of liquid gold here. We've saved ourselves from some excess sodium, bad quality ingredients, preservatives, and also saved some money too. So it's a win-win for me and you. We'll go get to cooking with my new homemade broth. See some risotto in my future. That is hard to say.
Couple more
6 easy steps.
Couple more 6 up.
Woo! Are you still buying prepackaged bone broth because you think it's too difficult to buy at home? I was gonna say head to toe, but it's what, like end to end? Okay. And we're so easy for me and you. I don't care about anybody else apparently but me. Isn't that pretty? Yum! Is it Sieve or Sieve or what is it? Sev? Sieve?
See?
Birds are really ramped up too for this. They're excited. My other favorite way is to reuse these little reusable flip top. What do you call this? Okay. Should I take a swig of it out of this bottle at the end? Or is that gross?
The dog is cracking me up.
Can you see him in that?
Oh,